I would like to share some of the initiatives by Manage towards this direction based on the recommendations of DFI committee. The purpose of sharing is how all the participants representing different departments, they can strengthen Manage in implementation of this program. And also you can also adapt these new ideas and start implementing in your respective organizations. So very recently we have initiated idea. This is based on DFI committee report, how we can make use of retired professionals in agricultural extension. So 3% of the working force is getting retired every year, but at the same time we have inadequate manpower in agricultural extension, which is very serious problem. In order to address that, we created a platform called Seva Manage, that is a service extension through voluntary association, and the response from retired professionals is extraordinary. We are conducting monthly webinars regularly, and we are updating what is happening in Manage and in the field of agricultural extension, so that they are also slowly they are involving in Manage implemented programs. We are at national level implementing several programs, whether it is AgriClinic or Agribusiness Centers or DESI program. We are running our PG program and skill training for rural youth and certified farm advisor. Several programs are implemented. We are also exploring how we can involve retired professionals in implementation of this Manage program. Response is very good, and we started involving them. This is maybe one of the greatest response we received in the first initiative itself. The second one is use of mass media and popularizing agriculture journalism in agricultural extension. The report clearly says the cost and time effectiveness of reaching farmers, it is very high if you use mass media. For that purpose, we need to promote large number of agriculture journalists and through various training program, and use them in day-to-day activities of reaching farmers through mass media. So we initiated a national network of agriculture journalists, Manage and EI and Samiti. Through various programs, we imparted training to department officials in agriculture journalism. Normally training ends in itself, but by forming this national level network, again and again we are involving them and keeping in constant touch with Manage and sensitizing them about what is going on in the field of agricultural extension and Manage, and they start communicating with disseminating some of the technologies through local mass media channels. So every day through their response, we are also motivated, and the network is getting strengthened. We have initiated monthly webinars for the National Network of Agriculture Journalists. And how we can inspire the last mile extension worker by linking them to the lifetime experiences of outstanding professionals in the field of agriculture development. For that purpose, Manage knowledge, Krishi Gandhip knowledge series lecture. It is a monthly webinar. It is initiated, and it is converted into film, and it is reaching more than 1 lakh extension workers and organizations involved in extension development. Basically, the rich experience of outstanding agriculture professionals are shared with the last mile extension workers, so that it is time and cost effective also. So they also get inspired, and they also get a lot of ideas. And FPO activity is very much highlighted in Developing Farmers Committee report. So this is one of the prime area where the committee stressed that we have to promote large number of farmers producers organizations. So on 1st January, Manage launched FPO Academy. It is a public and private partnership platform where the practitioners, the people who are promoting the farmers producers organizations in the field, they have joined hands with Manage, and we are conducting large number of capacity building programs, and we have good ideas, and the beginning is very encouraging. Response is extraordinary. So we are moving in a proper direction, and we are also implementing a World Bank project in Andhra Pradesh, and it serves as a field laboratory for us to experiment all the new ideas of Manage FPO Academy. Then committee also stressed on the public-private partnership. So how we can promote so that technology, ideas, and even the manpower will be the gain for mainstream agricultural extension system. So we initiated a project facilitation center in Manage. So any private sector person, whether he is a FPO or a retired professional or people who are working in ICR organizations or university, if they have some outstanding ideas, they can approach Manage, and we will also provide a faculty support. They can stay in Manage and prepare any project, and Manage will join hands with them for implementation of those projects. So this project facilitation center is picking up. Of course, it takes some more time for involving more number of people. India having a large number of agroclimatic zones and a large number of research institutions, agriculture universities, how we can place ourselves in global leadership role. So we initiated monthly international webinars. In every webinar, we are highlighting a agriculture research institute, which is playing very prominent role in India, so that the world will comes to know that what outstanding work is done by Indian scientists, and they look upon these organizations. And we have completed 2, and at the rate of 1 international webinar, we are going to highlight an ICR organization at a global platform. This year, we are working with a large number of state agriculture universities and ICR organizations. More than 125 organizations are working with Manage today. We strongly believe that Manage alone will not be in a position to fill all the extension gaps. In order to strengthen our efforts, we have to work with all the important stakeholders. So we are working with all the ICR organizations and state agriculture universities, numbering more than 125. I think this collective activity, I'm sure that going to strengthen agricultural extension delivery mechanism at grassroots level, inspiring our agricultural extension students at MSc and PhD level, and good literature in agricultural extension. This is also one of the point highlighted in committee report. So this year we have instituted Best Agricultural Extension Award, Best PhD Agricultural Extension Thesis Award, and also Best Book in Agricultural Extension. I think we have completed the process June 11th, which is Foundation Day of Manage. These awards will be distributed. Similarly, promotion of agri startups and how we can accommodate innovations in agricultural extension. So we have instituted Manage Samunati Agri Startup Award 2020, and again we have completed the process. The response was tremendous. More than 200 entries came from different parts of the country, and again these awards will be distributed on this 11th of this month. Another important point discussed in the committee report is the quality of agricultural extension research conducted by MSc and PhD students. I think at the time of formulation of research projects, a valuable input should go to them so that they can pick a good extension research. So this year we are launching a massive campaign of sensitizing junior MSc and PhD students, where they get researchable issues in agricultural extension. It will help them to decide a proper agriculture research extension research topic. So like this, last week we initiated Manage a CSR forum. Basically, it is a public-private partnership platform. Again, how we can attract corporate social responsibility investments in agriculture, especially in agricultural extension. So this is initiated by Manage. Similarly, several research projects have been initiated in order to strengthen based on the committee report. So this is some of the major initiatives by Manage in transforming recommendations of DFI committee into action. We are very much encouraged by the response, and entire Manage family is dedicated, and we want to see some result because of these innovations. The purpose of sharing in this important platform with a large number of practitioners who are present here is can you join hands with Manage so that, together we can make these programs more successful? That is number one. Number two, you can also adapt these ideas and start implementing in your ICR organizations or agriculture universities or your KVK or your Atma, so that this idea multiplies. That is what the intention of doubling farmers' income committee report. The idea should reach more and more people. And this training program plays very important role. And we are fortunate to have Dalwai sir, and we are eager to listen to him, and we can take his ideas forward. Thank you very much. And again, I would like to welcome you all to this training, 5 days training program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That gives a very right background for the efforts the Manage has initiated to realize the vision envisioned in the Doubling Farmers Income Committee report. So before inviting Dr. Ashok Dalwai, sir, it's my profound privilege to introduce him to the guests attending this webinar or national training program. It's a very audacious task, but nevertheless, it's an honor also to introduce Ashok Dalwai sir always, because before rising to this important responsibility of being the head of the National Rainfed Area Authority, sir has worked in Orissa as well as in Karnataka during the beginning of his civil services career. Later on, he is also involved in several policy framing of both Orissa and Karnataka state. And most importantly, it's very happy to share that he comes from agriculture fraternity and he holds a doctoral degree in economics, and his master's is in agriculture economics. And as a chairman of this important interministerial committee on doubling farmers' income, the report on DFI is one of the most comprehensive reports and lays a very strong roadmap to increase the farmers' income in more than several ways. With this brief introduction, sir, I request Dr. Ashok Dalwai, sir, to address the gathering with his keynote address.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Respected Director General of Manage, Dr. Chandrasekhar, and my dear friend, all my friends and faculty members from the prestigious Institute of Manage, all the fellow participants from across the country, from the state agriculture universities, from the ICAR institutes, the state agriculture departments, and more importantly, all the young student friends from different universities. Thank you, Chandrasekhar, for giving me another privilege to be with you. Thank you, Mahantesh, for giving me this opportunity. At the outset, I would like to thank the DG for sharing with all of us the various initiatives that Manage has made under his leadership. Dr. Chandrasekhar is as much aware of the strategies relating to extension vis-a-vis doubling farmers' income, because he was an active member of the committee that we constituted to work on extension had people from several backgrounds, but two people who shoulder that responsibility as their own, and among them one was Dr. Chandrasekhar. So I'm not surprised that he has that personal ownership of all the recommendations that have been made in volume 11, which deals with extension management and empowering the farmers. There is also a lot of matter relating to extension in volume 12 of the DFI committee report that deals with science and research and development and technology. I would like to congratulate you, Chandrasekhar, and your team for demonstrating the commitment to operationalize the recommendations of the DFI committee. And that is a reflection of your concern for not just the subject of extension, but the welfare of the farmers. The theme that I would like to share with all of you today is that you, as professionals of extension, more particularly agriculture extension, must feel extremely important and proud that you are the one ultimately who is going to bridge the research and the farms. All the research that is done under the National Agriculture Research System will be rendered barren, fruitless, useless, if we do not translate that into actual action. We are aware that a lot of money has gone into research, a lot of energy has gone into research, a lot of intellectual input has gone into research, but not all of them actually has got translated into a practice at the farm level. There is a wide gap between the research and development institutes and the farmers. In a country like India, where there are always limited resources and there are large number of demands, we must be extremely cautious in the way we use our time, our money, our intellectual input, energy, so that we are able to, on priority, develop those practices and technologies that farmers require for an accelerated growth of agriculture sector. So friends, many a time at the university level, there is a common feeling that extension belongs to somebody who does not get anything else. But that should not be the thought. Extension is as much a professional discipline as, let us say, genetics and plant breeding or biotechnology or agronomy or soil science. I am convinced that any subject for that matter will depend in terms of its importance by the people who handle it. You're also aware that as students of agriculture sciences, there's something called Liebig's law of the minimum. Liebig, he said, the strength of any chain is equivalent to the strength of the weakest link. So if any of the disciplines of the agricultural chain, comprised by several disciplines, will be strong provided every single link is equally strong. There's no point of having one stronger than the other. Every single chain has to be strong and every link of that chain has to be strong. So that is the first thing that I would like to share, particularly with the students who have joined here from the extension domain. Second, let us appreciate that extension is very complex. An extension is defined as a corpus of knowledge that is derived from the research institutes and then from the age-old farm management practices in field. And thirdly, the principles and philosophy from behavioral sciences. And all these three combined synthetically by an appropriate technology with a view to changing the behavior of the people. That is very important with respect to technology and farm management practices. So what do we see here? There are three things. Science as borrowed from the institutions, and the science that we borrow from the farmers' practices themselves, which have evolved and have been inherited over centuries, millennia. And third, from behavioral sciences like sociology, philosophy, psychology, economics. So how do we harmonize these different thoughts, principles, and philosophies into a synthetic mode so that we are able to effectively transfer to the people? So this extension, therefore, is dealing primarily with formal and informal systems of transfer of knowledge. And it is dealing not just with agriculture, but with any domain of economy. It could be industry, it could be services. Extension is required everywhere. More particularly when you come to agriculture extension, we are dealing with the domains of agriculture. And once again, the underlying principle is same. The next thing to understand is extension or agriculture extension goes along with communication systems. Hence, these days we have been talking about extension and communication management systems. Because when the basic discipline of extension or agriculture extension started sometimes towards the end of 19th century and the beginning of 20th century, more robustly, it was primarily to bridge the gap that existed between the land grant colleges and the farmers. And it has evolved thereafter, including in India. And in India, I will not go into all details, but so much is important to know that post-independence, while we launched some kind of a formal extension, agriculture extension with the Grow More Food campaign, what was largely the theme in India was community development. And community development meant development of the rural economy. And rural economy was mostly agriculture, with 80% plus people dependent on agriculture at that point of time. And therefore, agriculture extension became the fulcrum of community development, along with rural development. So agriculture extension has served our country very well since 1947 through various programs. And Green Revolution would not have been successful only with the technology of seed without the supplementary support of the extension wing. Whether it was a Punjab Agriculture University or the extension departments in the states of Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, who all heralded the Green Revolution in the Indo-Gangetic Plain, have always emphasized on the role of extension. If extension is bridging the gap between the research institutions and the farmers, that gap is bridged by sailing on the communication modules. That means we have to understand what is communication, what kind of communication channels could be effective for different purposes under different contexts. So agriculture extension and communication are two wheels of that vehicle. That has to be very much clear in our mind. We may be running, but in what direction we are running is very important. When we talk of communication management, for example, as a very well-known example of communication management is given, or management is given, if you want to climb up a particular house rooftop, you must place your ladder on the walls of that particular house. If you place that ladder on somebody else's house, you are climbing up, but you are climbing up on the wrong house. If you need to climb up on the right house, then you must know that not only ladder is important, but the placement of the ladder is very important. So in that sense, the house that we want to climb up vis-a-vis agriculture and farmers will keep varying from time to time. In 50s and 60s, or even early 70s, the purpose was to produce more, so that we met the basic food requirements of the people. Thereafter, there has been a change demand. In 80s, 90s, the demand was for diversification. That I don't want only cereals, but I also want some kinds of pulses, for example. I want some fruits and vegetables, or I want milk. And then in 2000s, in addition to this, the demand that started arising was sustainability. That I need to use my resources in a more sustainable manner. So I need that kind of a technology. And towards 2010 and thereafter, the dominating demand has been income for the farmers, because consumers are satisfied but then farmers are not satisfied. Ecology is not satisfied. So the short point that we as extension officers or extension personnel, extension researchers must understand is the requirements of the ecosystem of the country, the requirements of the ecosystem of the agriculture domain of our country. So I would like to highlight to you that today we need to meet three basic demands through our extension. So it is left to you what to pick up from what institute. The bouquet of research technologies are available everywhere. But what of that do I want to pick up as a director of agriculture, director of horticulture, or sericulture? What do I want to pick up from which institute? It's left to me. Why? As I was talking to you, is because of the ecosystem demand. And the ecosystem demand today is consumers are food secure, but they are not nutrition secure. They need, along with carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals. So nutrition requirement is the need of the day today. Then the farmers are asking for higher incomes because the growth of agriculture has not automatically translated into higher incomes for the farmers. So still the farmers are at the bottom end of the economic ladder in terms of purchasing power. Third, even as we meet the demands of the consumers and the farmers, we are not trying to meet those demands at one point of time, because we're not in a race that, okay, I run a 100-meter race, then I press the tape and say I won and go up the victory stand. No. We want to do that day in and day out for all times, and that is called sustainability. Today, as you know, ecology is under stress. Soils have got degraded, water table is going down, there is higher production of greenhouse gases like methane, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, etc. So as we see, ecology is also under stress. So when we say doubling farmers' income or increasing the incomes of the farmers, the point that all of us must keep in mind is we want to continuously increase the incomes of the farmers, just as we want to increase the incomes of all the citizens of our country continuously. And if that is to happen, obviously, our agricultural technology, our farm management practices must all be oriented towards these three basic things: consumer nutrition, farmers' incomes, ecological sustainability. So now moving to the next phase, what we need to keep in mind, if you study the way the extension systems have changed over the last 70 years, the objectives of extension, when I keep saying extension, it is agriculture extension now. The objectives of agriculture extension have changed from time to time. And all the definitions of agriculture extension have also had to change according to that. If you looked at the larger definitions, which continue to dominate, they all focus on increasing productivity and production. There has been overemphasis on increasing productivity so as to increase and achieve higher volumes of production. But that is not enough in today's context, which means that we need to redefine agriculture extension, keeping in mind the needs of these three actors. It is in this context that the Doubling Farmers Income Committee redefined the agriculture extension, and it is now calling it as an empowering system. Dr. Chandrasekhar knows that we spent nearly 2-3 days to sort of deliberate of what should be the definition of agriculture extension in terms of farmers' income. So we called it as an empowering system based on knowledge, information, technology, skills, as also risk management. Okay, with a view to preparing these farmers across all the subsectors of agriculture and along the agriculture value within each subsector, such that they are able to achieve enhancement in incomes on a sustainable basis. This is a broad definition. It's not the exact word, but you can look at it in the report. So what does it break down into? It is talking about empowering the farmers, and empowerment happens through information, knowledge, technology, practices, risk management, both on the pre-production side, production side, and the post-production side. And more importantly, if income is to be realized, higher income is to be realized, it is not just crop segment, but all subsectors, agronomic crops, horticultural crops, dairy, animal husbandry sector, fishery sector. And in each sector or each subsector, the agriculture value chain, that's very important. Agriculture value chain is from the farm gate up to the markets. So there is pre-production, there is production, post-production. And for what purpose? Such that they're able to run agriculture as an enterprise. And always an enterprise is run on basis of profits. So I would suggest that all of you, whenever you are tasked with extension at different levels, whether at research level, at policy level, at program leadership level, program implementation level, you must always ask yourself whether this is being done or not. For example, integrated farming system for the small and marginal farmers. Is my extension addressing all the subsectors of the farmer's needs? Is my extension answering the pre-production, production, and the post-production segments? Is my extension empowering the farmer? When you talk empowering the farmer, the best example would be to recall the Chinese proverb, which says, don't teach a person to ask for one fish every day, but ask him to be taught how to catch a fish. If I want to give him a fish every day and make him happy, he'll become lazy. And I think I'm doing some good work and I'm earning some punya. I'm going nearer the God. But that is a feudal approach. We need to empower that farmer with the necessary knowledge and skill to go and fish himself so that he is not dependent on anyone, but he knows how to go and earn his fish. So that is empowerment. He becomes self-dependent. So friends, the income approach to farmers, so doubling is one quantitative target. It will end by 2022 or a little thereafter. But we are all now talking about income approach to agriculture because we have moved away and we need to move further away from subsistence economy to commercial economy. Under the subsistence economy, we are only aiming at producing enough for the body and souls of the farmers' communities, farmers' families to be together. But today we want farmers to earn so much that they are able to meet all requirements. And as you know, and if you how Maslow, for example, defines at least 5 categories of needs. From basic physical and biological requirement, you keep going up. So the farmer, for example, has to ensure the health requirements, education requirements, contingent requirements, the needs for his own development through travel, etc. So we need money to be surplus. Hence the income approach to agriculture. And that is possible only when the farmer considers himself as an agricultural entrepreneur, cultivates his land or takes up to his agriculture farming as an enterprise. So extension has to now look at 3 things. If enterprise has to be practiced, it has to be based on profit. So the simple thing is that extension, the agriculture enterprise, it has to produce more first. It has to produce that more at lesser cost. And thirdly, be able to convert all of that into profit. So these are the basic 3 things that any enterprise demands. Higher volumes through higher productivity. So how does extension help in achieving higher productivity? And second, how do you reduce the cost of production? So how does extension help in rational and efficient use of agricultural inputs, whether it is fertilizers, water, pesticides, and labor, etc., etc. And thirdly, how does extension teach a person to convert all that he has produced into money without any wastage and in a more efficient manner? That means what market he should go to, for example. Hence, the agriculture extension today, instead of just saying that I'm going to give you a high-yielding variety that will give you higher yield, he has to also tell him that this particular seed that I'm giving is also resilient to climate change, for example. It is more efficient in terms of water use, in terms of fertilizer use, in terms of pest management, and also in terms of shelf life. Because unless you have a shelf life, you will not be able to access the best market possible, because you need time to access a market. So today, agriculture extension from the days of 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s to today has to talk in terms of all these three things: ecology, nutrition, and incomes for the farmers. So the DFI committee in this particular context has identified 7 sources of growth. And of these 7 sources, the 7th source is outside the agriculture domain, but all other 6 are within the domain of agriculture. Hence, the extension has to answer each of these things. I've already shared with you 3 things, but to repeat, the 6 source growth in incomes. One is higher productivity of the crop segment. Second, higher productivity of the livestock sector. Third one is rational use of resources, or what is called total factor productivity. And the fourth one is risk management, because risk management at both production, pre-production, and post-production stages. And then ensuring real higher remunerative prices to the farmers. That's very important. So these 6 sources are what the extension has to answer. So as extension personnel, since extension meant bridging the gap between the research institutions and the farm management practices with the farm gates, how do you prepare that basket of those best practices, best technologies? And how do we also simultaneously diagnose the existing critical gaps in infrastructure? There's a gap in technology, there's a gap in infrastructure, there's a gap in knowledge, a soft component of the farmers. So these 3 gaps have to be identified by the extension. And once again, at research level, at policy level, at program leadership and implementation level. So these identification of gaps is the most important job of any extension unit. So how do we go about that? I think that's the important question that we have to really answer. Today, or till now mostly, at least till a few years back, we have always depended on manpower-based extension. And we have worked out, different committees have worked out what should be the ratio between an extension officer and the number of farmers served. Even DFI committee, for example, worked out that and recommended what should it be in rain-fed areas, what should it be in the irrigated areas, what should it be in the hilly and the mountainous regions like Northeast Himalayan states. So these ratios are appropriate, certainly, but then depending only on manpower may not be enough. There are advantages. There are also certain disadvantages if you totally depend on the manpower-based extension. The first disadvantage is that it is very costly. The second very critical disadvantage is that we'll not be able to reach out in real terms. The real-time transfer of technology, real-time transfer of information is very important. Let us say, for example, there's going to be a heavy rainfall somewhere, and the farmers have already cut their ear heads and they are kept on threshing yards. And how do I ensure that I reach out the information that you're going to get rains tomorrow or by night? So kindly you clean your thresh yards and take the ear heads into your house. Now, if we depend upon the manpower extension, obviously you cannot reach out in real time. You may be able to reach 10 people, 20 people. So there you need technology. So what we need today is an optimal blend of manpower and the technology. So identifying a suitable technology suite is as important as having adequate manpower and well-prepared manpower. So that once again, the research unit and institutes like Manage have to design and then share it with the state governments and different extension units. Now, let's say the first come to manpower itself. It is becoming increasingly difficult, we're seeing across the states, to even fill the existing vacancies. So while the emphasis should be on, making the government, state governments realize the value of extension manpower, but we as researchers, as policymakers, should also be able to advise on what is the most efficient way of putting in place the required manpower. So Atma primarily has tried to do that. But in practice, I think Atma leaves a lot of gap to be bridged. Now, as you know, Atma, which got universally rolled out by 2005, and all the districts came to be covered under Atma, is looking at two things. One, to link up the produce with the markets. Second, map the district's manpower such that we are able to identify every single manpower who can be effective delivery for knowledge or technology. So you should be able to orient the district officials to put in place a proper Atma structure and prepare the district local resources, local potential, and local capabilities. So the two things that I would like to share with you here is, one is considering agriculture as an agriculture value chain. Second, identifying all resources and preparing what is called a proper manpower map. So what is the meaning of agriculture value chain? You are all used to the term supply chain, value chain, and there's something more called agriculture value system. I would like you to understand these three things. A supply chain is nothing but linking the farm gate with the market. There could be short supply chain, there could be long supply chain. Let us say, for example, I as a farmer have extra seeds. I give that seed to my neighboring farmer. That's a supply chain. I as a farmer take my vegetables and go and sell it in the village market. That's a supply chain. I as a farmer now process my vegetables, pack them and send them not just to the village market, but to the next taluka market. That's a supply chain. So the supply chain can go from my farm to the village, to the taluk, to the district, to the state, to the country level, to the global level. So as we keep moving up, the supply chain is getting longer and longer. However, if I need to reach out to my district headquarters or to the state headquarters or to Bombay or Delhi or New York, it is going to take time. Hence, I need to add something more to that, which means that I need to store it in a cold store. I need to transport in a reefer van. I need to have proper systems to link it up with a flight or ship or train, etc. I may also need to process it into another form, tomato into jelly, into puree, for example, mango into mango syrup. So the supply chain is getting more and more complex as you move up. Secondly, a value chain is something like a supply chain, but these little parts of the supply chain get integrated to one another. Why? Because the farmer cannot do all these things. He cannot himself produce, he cannot himself process, he cannot himself transport. Then he becomes an in-house integrated system. It's not possible for everybody to be like that. So value chain meaning is that different professionals or different enterprises take over different responsibilities. Somebody takes the responsibility of transporting. Somebody takes the responsibility of processing. Somebody takes the responsibility of physico-chemical transformation. So a value chain is that larger number of stakeholders come in and build a long supply chain, and that's called a value chain. The purpose of telling you is that you as extension officers have to find out, how do I build a supply chain? How do I build a value chain? If I want to convert that supply chain into an efficient value chain, then I need everybody. I need processors, I need exporters, I need traders, I need so many other people. So a supply chain and value chain must be understood properly. And the third one, agriculture value system, is little different in the sense that in the supply chain and value chain, the communication is one way. The communication is one way. But in agriculture value system, we're talking about two-way communication. In extension communication, we're always talking two-way communication. What is that? That from the farmers to the market, from the market to the farmer, there has to be a two-way communication. For example, the farmers must consistently get information what are the market prices in different places. What is the expected price 2 months hence? So that he is able to decide, should I sell it today or should I sell it tomorrow? So when we prepare an Atma plan, we must keep in mind first identifying all the resources. There could be resources with NGOs, there could be resources with KVK, there could be resources with ICAR Institute, there could be resources with State Agriculture University if it is there. There would be resources with our State Agriculture Department. Within the department with agriculture, horticulture, animal husbandry, dairy, fishery. Since our system of empowering farmers now is to look at all the subsectors of the agriculture, all resources available with all the departments, with all the NGOs, with all the research institutions must be taken together, and they have to be mapped in such a way that every part of the district is covered by somebody. If there is a particular Gram Panchayat which is growing horticulture, then preferably we identify resources who can meet that requirement. If an area is a fishery sector, then we must identify resources who can cater to that particular domain. So a very intelligent, skillful, mind-applied approach to preparing a map of the resources is very, very important. Alongside this, I said diagnosis, because we are now preparing an agriculture value chain. So what does value chain require? It requires storage facilities, processing facilities, marketing facilities, input sale facilities, output sale facilities. Hence, diagnosis of the infrastructure, diagnosis of the software providing resources is the next one. Only then, now these two things come together. Diagnosis of infrastructure, both software and hardware, with the manpower, is what is going to complete your plan. But this particular plan will be basis the agroecology. So agroecology alone, the agroecology based agriculture alone can ensure that we are having a sustainable agriculture. And that means that we must identify the proper technology. Is it crop diversification? Is it mixed cropping? Is it integrated farming? What is it? So this is a very complex system. I think we have not been taking it that seriously, and therefore all that happens is left to itself. So at the district level, based on the plans prepared at the Gram Panchayat level, at the block level, we need to prepare an integrated district plan under the Atma, taking into account the capabilities and the availability of resources. Only then can we have an agriculture value chain. Today, for example, one of the recommendations of our committee was one district, one commodity, or one village, one commodity, based on the model that Thailand is already practicing. So as an extension, we should be able to identify what is that 1, 2, or 3 commodities which could be dominantly promoted in the context of agroecology and other resources available. So where does all this take us to? It takes us to the point where we need to prepare the capacity of manpower. So continuous integration of the universities and ICR institutions with the State Agriculture Department for upgrading their knowledge, technology, management practices, use of emerging technologies is next step, I think, in communicating effectively the extension or bridging the gap. So if manpower has to be prepared like this, that's where Dr. Chandrasekhar talked about utilizing the students, as a social responsibility. All those things I will not go into, that you will understand as you go through these 5 days of things, and also when you read this, our DFI manpower, the report. But use of technology must be appreciated. And particularly the older generation within the extension is not well versed with technology. Therefore, we need an orientation and training program. Using of mobile applications, using of laptops, iPads, computers, desktops, and how do we actually recommend or use emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, Web of Things, drones, etc. Because these have now become very important to create greater efficiency and effectiveness in reaching out to the farmers. Let me give you one example. If at the post-production level, we need to store our commodities, particularly fruits, for example, or vegetables, within a cold store. Now, it has to be efficient. One way of ensuring that the humidity, temperature, etc., within the cold store are being maintained as prescribed, then we have to physically open the door, go inside, check the temperature, check the humidity level, etc., etc. But then remember, each time you open the door and close it, you are losing energy. You're also letting in extraneous influences into the system. But use of technology says that if you have sensors there, it is possible for us to connect that to our mobile application, and sitting outside, we are able to continuously monitor the temperature, humidity, etc., etc. So this is use of technology, right? So unless we know how to use that technology, we will not be able to be at par. But then the advantage here is that we are more efficient in terms of energy. So likewise, at the production level. At production level, for example, micro irrigation is efficient because it reduces the water use by nearly 40%, increases the productivity. But if you add that micro irrigation system with, let us say, sensor-based artificial intelligence system, it is possible for the farmer to sit at home and monitor when to switch on his motor, because what electricity is not available all the time of the day. So there are technologies at different level, at different stages, pre-production, production, and post-production. So as extension people, we must understand those technologies, because knowledge is power. Only then can you communicate properly. So friends, now we need to move on to the new system of manpower and technology-based extension. And before I close, the need for bringing people together is very important, given the fact that our agriculture economy is dominated by small and marginal farmers. And when we have large number of small and marginal farmers, which now stands at 86% today, then the scales of economy do not operate. When I say scales of economy, whether it is input purchase or output sale, it becomes very costly. If every farmer has to go and buy his own pesticide in small quantum, fertilizer in small quantum, pesticide in small quantum, naturally he's traveling and simultaneously the retail price will go up. Simultaneously, if he wants to sell a small quantum of marketable surpluses, his transaction cost increases. So the farmer producer organization is meant to bring farmers together and achieve that scale of economy which is possible for a large farmer. So today what we need to understand is farmer producers organizations, watershed approach, integrated farming approach, agriculture value chains, use of technology at the farmers level, and use of geospatial technology for risk management, use of financial risk management like Fasal Bima Yojana, livestock insurance. All these new baskets have to be understood. So extension, which was earlier mostly concerned with just production technology, today, if it has to promote enterprise system, then it has to look at not for management just at the farmers level, but at the collective level, and identifying new bouquet of technologies. And for that, we ourselves need to be tech savvy to the extent possible. So let us understand that moving forward, we have to bring in enterprise into agriculture. We need to prepare that farmer to become a manager, not just a producer. And the last point is that if we want the farmer's income to rise, we need to teach him how to use all the resources that he generates. He generates, of course, grains and fruits and vegetables and tubers, milk, fish. These are all primary products. But there are also a large number of byproducts. Stalk, straw. There are, say, the skins, hair, viscera. All these byproducts today, which are not attached too much of importance and considered as waste, are the same compounds as the primary products. So how do we now help the farmers to realize the value of this thing and then aggregate those things and then process them? So that takes us to the secondary agriculture. So today, training farmers to use every single resource that is generated in his farm or in his neighborhood is agriculture. So while production of biologically generated produce is primary agriculture, using the byproducts to add value is secondary agriculture. And today farmers are poor only because they do not have employment all the 360 days. So as extension officers, I would like you to appreciate that the only way to generate employment for our only way to generate incomes for our farmers is to generate employment. Incomes can be either given as a charity from the government as supplementary income, or give him employment and make him to generate additional income. And going back to the Chinese proverb, instead of making farmers always dependent on somebody else, can we help the farmers to find employment for 365 days a year? On an average today, a farmer is employed for 185 days during the seasons. Outside the seasons, he doesn't find employment except to go and work as a Narega worker, a skilled or a semi-skilled, unskilled worker, or put up a small shop elsewhere. What we want today is to teach him primary processing. So when the primary processing happens, he is able to integrate to the markets better. Give him skills required to convert his raw material into value-added product. There some processing is happening, and he now becomes, moving up the value chain, he is able to capture greater value. And that is what is called secondary agriculture. So promoting farm-level cottage industries based on agriculture, promoting village-level industries based on aggregating the produce of the farmers through the farmer producers organizations, self-help groups, etc., is also the domain of agriculture extension. So the last points I would like to share with you. Let us shift agriculture extension from production to market-led approach, and market-led extension, demand-led extension. That means you are now going to identify in the market what is required for the consumers, what kind of fruits, what kind of grains, what quality, and tell that farmer to produce that. So market-led extension, income-led extension, sustainability-led extension, and we go address primary agriculture, but also primary and secondary agriculture. So there is a basic shift required in the way we are dealing ourselves with extension. So I think the universities, the ICR institutions have to readdress agriculture extension. And institutes like Manage will be able to provide that kind of a big picture, a national level picture, and orient the universities, orient the ICR system as to what is the new demand today for agriculture extension. I would like to close by saying that agriculture extension is going through a critical existential crisis in the last 20 years. ever since the closure of T&V, we have not had as much focus on extension as we should have. Well, Atma was expected to bring that focus somehow. It has not happened, but yet Atma is the right approach. Combined with other things like ACBC, where private people are brought into the extension. Now startups will be brought into extension. So we now need to reorient the entire system and create a network. In our DFI report, we talked about DBAT or SBAT, state level systems, national level systems, where the technology bouquet generated by different people are all hosted on the websites, so that the extension officers know what is available where, what is the best one I can borrow. So I think Manage will be playing that kind of a role to bring in integration using the information technology platform. So you please focus on improving the communication systems, the management systems, and the extension finally, which is supposed to bridge. That bridging will happen only when we have effective communication management system. So there's a lot I think you should be really looking at, writing new books, doing new research, because undertaking a social research is not easy. Social science research is not easy. It's very more complex than undertaking a physical science-based research. But be proud that you have a lot of work to do. And I think all of us together should bring that greater respect and high morale to the agriculture extension, so that we are able to help our farmers to realize higher incomes, even as they meet the nutrition requirement of our consumers, and also ensure sustainability of our production system or ecology at large. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It's always a privilege to listen to your thoughtful and insightful vision on doubling farmers' income. This was the most intense speech that we have ever heard in a 45-minute capsule. And this has been putting more of onus on Manage also to realize the vision that you have set forth, sir. And probably the last thing that that you have spoken has registered most on our minds. That is the scale of economy to reduce the risk for the farmers through the FPOs, SHGs, and also to convert the extension into from the production-led to the market-led extension. But there was also an enough emphasis on Atma and all these things. So probably we have made a very good effort in putting some of the said as well as unsaid ideas into this particular module, because the startup, the SREP and the revitalizing Atma and the SHGs and FPOs and diversification of agriculture, all these things have been adequately emphasized in the training program. Sir also mentioned one of the things, because just to open the discussion, I need to tell one of the things that he mentioned about the 6 important characters that we need to emphasize. One is on the productivity of the crop, the productivity of the livestock, the factor productivity, the risk management, and the remunerative prices for the farmers. So now with this much of thoughtful speech.
So Chandrasekhar, thank you.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you again, sir, on behalf of Manage family and on behalf of all the participants here, for your valuable time and valuable information and inspiration given to all the extension fraternity which are present here. Sir, you are part of Manage family. Thank you very much. So we have that liberty of requesting you anytime for direction. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care of you.